Hey, what's going on, guys? So, we're about a year into the new Ultimate Universe, and I figured it was worth talking about. And I've already done a video on Jonathan Hickman and Marco Checchetto's Ultimate Spider-Man, so if you want to check that out, be my guest. But all cards on the table, I was not the most excited for this initiative when it was announced. And I'm saying that as somebody who loved, and honestly still loves, the original Ultimate Universe. Was it a clusterfuck at times? Yes. But when it was on, that shit was locked the fuck in and turned all the way on. Be that as it may, the Ultimate Universe was a product of its time. You know, a lot of it was gritty political satire, making fun of post-MTV, post-9/11 America under the George W. Bush administration. And a lot of it was also proof of concept for a hypothetical, at the time, Marvel Cinematic Universe. And keeping it a buck, nobody gave a flying fuck about Marvel Comics at the time, and anyone who wants to say otherwise is full of more shit than an Instagram model's mouth after being flown out to Dubai. So do not start with me. But the point that I'm making is that it was far easier at the time to reinvent classic Marvel characters and deconstruct classic staples of the Marvel Universe without there being this religious, hyper-sanitized pop culture standard to hold it against and slavishly adhere to via corporate synergy. Like, you can't do the Ultimate Universe now with Marvel in the same way that Bendis, Bagley, Hitch, Miller, Ellis, and everyone else did back in 2002. And that was my biggest fear going into this. You know, I thought this was gonna just try and redo the Ultimate Universe again, but with Donald Trump and TikTok and brain-dead reactionary Twitterverse political hot takes.
Whack.
Thankfully, we got something else entirely. This is not Hickman trying to redo the original Ultimate Universe. This is DC's Flashpoint, but at Marvel. And significantly better and more interesting. But also, still building off of everything he was doing with Ultimate Reed Richards as the maker in really interesting and weird ways. And I think Denise Camp and One for Gary are doing a great job of picking up that ball and just running with it. So, long story short, for anyone who doesn't know, in the original Ultimate Universe, the Fantastic Four broke up, Sue Storm left Reed and started dating Ben Grimm, and Reed's been having a cosmic level incel rage temper tantrum ever since. And that's where we pick up with Ultimate Invasion. So, between Secret Wars and Ultimate Invasion, the maker's entire motivation has been to get back home. Which is weird, because technically it was brought back 3 different times by 3 different creative teams, and it looked different every time. Which I guess is in keeping with the tradition of the Ultimate Universe having more continuity holes than Swiss cheese, or a black person fitting the right description in a white neighborhood. But here, the maker is more interested in taking over the world as like a weird little experiment. So he travels to this world that is very similar to the classic 616 Marvel Universe, but you know, it has a few key changes here and there, you know, like Peter Parker being 20 years older than Tony Stark, and the Punisher being active in the 70s. So it's not 100% one for one the same as the 616 universe, but it's more or less the same. And he interjects himself in key world events to make sure that either none of the superheroes exist or that they're under his control. And what this winds up being is an alternate history of the Marvel Universe. And so far, all of the books have been ridiculously good, which is staggering to me. Ultimate Spider-Man? Solid. Without a doubt, the best ongoing Spider-Man comic on the shelves right now. Ultimate Black Panther by Brian Edward Hill and Stefano Caselli? A complete dark horse. And I went into this series with some hesitation, you know. I am, first of all, not the world's biggest Brian Edward Hill fan. He's not bad, he's just never written anything that set my world on fire. I've also just not been a fan of the way Marvel's been treating the Black Panther mythos between the comics and the movies and all that, where they're trying to distance T'Challa from Black Panther as a bass-ackwards way to honor the late Chadwick Boseman. because that's how you do that, I guess. But this book doesn't have any of those problems. In fact, much like Ultimate Spider-Man, this book is probably the best thing to happen to Black Panther in a very long time. And it definitely lives up to the promise of being Dune in the Marvel Universe. The series so far is all about Wakanda going to war with Moon Knight, which is an organization that controls most of the African continental territory. And there's also a newly discovered element that is Vibranium's elemental opposite. And it's basically a Philosopher's Stone. And that's been the real turning point of the war, and that's where the book is right now, and it's just been really good. Ultimates by Denise Camp and Juan Frigeri is better than it has any right to be. This is the tentpole book that's dealing more directly with the Maker and his impact on the world, and Tony Stark trying to rebuild the superhero community that the Maker erased from existence. Granted, it's not going well. You know, some of the people who got their powers back accidentally wind up killing themselves, and others see the life that they're supposed to have, and they're like, you know, this is a better alternative. And I said this in my Ultimate Spider-Man review, and I still stand by it. This book should have been called The Avengers. You know, I get why it's called The Ultimates for branding purposes, but they are literally, proactively avenging all that's been lost at the hands of the Maker's attempts at playing God. Like, it's right there. It's right there. But whatever, that's my only real complaint about the book. And this has just been remarkable so far. Juan Frigeri is quickly becoming one of my favorite artists, and Denise Camp, who I've never heard of before this, is quickly becoming one of my favorite comic book writers. And then there's Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko, which I know hasn't been all that well received among X-Men fans, but here's the thing. This is not a classic X-Men book, and given the status quo of mutants in this universe, nor do I think that could ever exist. So what this winds up being is Monogatari. You know, this is ghost stories. This is a high school anime drama, which I don't mind because I'm weeaboo trash and I like that weeb shit, and that's just all there is to it. But yeah, all of these books have been really good so far. I've noticed that they all take place in real time, which is interesting. They all link up with each other very well continuity-wise. And again, not something I would have expected out of Marvel Comics in this day and age. And all things being what they are, that's not something you could say about the original Ultimate Universe. And I just think it's funny how 25 years ago, the Ultimate Universe saved Marvel from financial bankruptcy, and now the Ultimate Universe is saving Marvel from creative bankruptcy. But I've said my piece, but what about you? Are you liking the new Ultimate Universe? Do you think it's trash? Are you one of the people who's only reading Ultimate Spider-Man because that's all I think the internet really cares about? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you gotta do is subscribe and hit that little bell for notifications so you can be updated as to when I upload next. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Thanks for watching, and as always, until next time, take care. Happy reading.